Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India.
So just like we had this theorem for decentralized SGD, we also have a similar result on federated learning, and how and when federated learning works, and what are the sort of error rates that we can, or error convergence rates that we can provide, similar to the centralized SGD that we looked at and the decentralized SGD that we looked at. So the key assumptions, it's going to be very similar to what we had made during decentralized SGD. So the first thing is the Lipschitz smoothness of the local objective function. So that means function fi is L Lipschitz, right? Which is to say that for every, so this is true for every function, every local objective function I, and for any points x and y. This is the Lipschitz smoothness of the local objective function. Then we assume that the gradients are stochastic gradients are unbiased estimates, right? So that's the another assumption that we had made in the context of decentralized SGD. So stochastic gradients is an unbiased estimate. So meaning the expected value of this stochastic gradient this is equal to, okay. Then we had also assumed even in the context of decentralized SGD that the stochastic gradients have bounded variance. So essentially to say that variance of GI, this is going to be bounded, or the expected value of combining the unbiased gradients and the bounded variance. So this is what you get, okay. And finally, bounded dissimilarity is again related to data heterogeneity, the kind of assumption that we also made in the context of decentralized SGD. So bounded dissimilarity says that there exist parameters beta square greater than equal to 1 and kappa square greater than equal to 0, such that over some SI square plus, and if for IID data, if the data is IID, so you have beta square equal to 1 and kappa square is equal to 0. So assuming you have these assumptions, you can show that if you work with m clients, which is C times k, C is the fraction of clients that you are going to be working with, you choose a learning rate which is basically like this, where tau, so for now we are going to be assuming that every agent performs the same number of local updates, which is going to be tau. So tau sub I is what we had, but then we assume that it's the same number of local updates that every agent works with. So if we have this, Then after T communication rounds, capital T communication rounds from the server, for T communication central server, this is how you can bound the error in terms of the total number of iterations. So now if you want to get epsilon close, then you would have to assume that this is less than or equal to, let's say, epsilon over 2 and epsilon over 2, and then that basically gives you an estimate of the total number of iterations required, capital T, to get epsilon close to the to make the error epsilon close, right, or epsilon small. Is this clear? So this is very similar to what the result that we looked at in the context of decentralized SGD. Obviously, we have more parameters here because in federated learning, let's say the number of selected clients is an additional hyperparameter that we work with, or the number of local updates that we perform, which is tau, that is another parameter that we work with. So this is the result. So let's try and understand, like basically revisit the basic understanding of federated learning and see how different parameters affect the learning behavior. So the first question is, so does the convergence between error and communication rounds, so that does it improve with or deteriorates with the if you change these hyperparameters? So essentially this error, convergence of error, does it as a function of communication, total number of communication rounds, does it improve if you increase the fraction of participating workers? What do you think? And you also have the result here, but what do you think? Does it improve as you increase the number of participating workers or clients? If you gather information from more clients, do you think the error would converge faster? Right? So it is better as you increase the value of C, right? Something that we have already looked at, which is over here. As you increase C, you see the total number of communication rounds required that becomes smaller. So as you increase M, you see you have a square root of M kind of thing, which basically supersedes this linear growth then, right? So that is one thing. If you increase the mini batch size, what happens with the total number of local updates? It becomes smaller, right? So if you have smaller number of local updates, we saw that you would require more rounds of communication, right? So this becomes worse. What about increase in total number of epochs? Better, right? So it will be better. But do we really want to increase the total number of local epochs to a significantly large number? So it's in most cases it's better. Like if you have too many local updates happening at the same time, and we'll look at one particular example. But if you had too many local updates happening, so then what would happen is that the model would overfit on the local training data. So when you aggregate information from everyone, so you would have to first of all unlearn the overfitted behavior, because your objective is to get a common set of features from every client, right? So then it would require more rounds of communication. So in general, as you increase E, increase the total number of local epochs, it basically improves the convergence behavior in the sense that you would require fewer communication rounds to get to the same error. But beyond a point, once it starts overfitting if the model starts overfitting the data, that's when you will have an issue, right? So it's largely better, but if E increases too much, then there can be overfitting, right? What about higher data heterogeneity? If you have higher data heterogeneity across clients, do you think does it improve the performance or makes it worse? Worsens, right? So this would be worse, right? And what about these parameters beta and kappa? So beta and kappa, if these parameters increase, that means there is more dissimilarity, right? So if you look at the assumption, beta square is greater than or equal to 1 and kappa square is greater than or equal to 0, and if you increase them beyond this, for IID data, beta square is equal to 1 and kappa square is equal to 0, right? So as you increase beta and kappa, that means you are tending more towards non-IID data, and this will also worsen the performance. Okay, so this would also become worse. Is this clear to everyone? So let's see how what happens to the anticipated wall clock time per communication round. So during each communication round, so what do you mean by each communication round? The central server basically runs. So this server update is essentially what we are talking about. So how much time does it take for this server update to happen? So each communication round. Okay. So as an increase in the fraction of participating clients, what do you think happens to the wall clock time? You're going to be communicating with a lot more workers or a lot more clients. So that increase in fraction of participating clients would increase in the wall clock time, the time it takes, right? So this basically increases. What about increase in mini batch size? It will, so if you increase the mini batch size, that means you are doing full gradient descent, and usually it takes time then to perform gradient descent in batches. But so it can both increase and decrease depending on the model parameters. So there is no conclusive sort of way to say that wall clock time will always increase. Let's say if I work with one batch size of 1, and I have hundreds of examples, so I have to run a for loop for 100 times, right? If I have batch size of 5, maybe I will have to run for loop 20 times. So this probably works better. But if I work with a batch size of 100, maybe I have to store 100 data points and extract it and so on. So it really depends on model hyperparameters, but it would mostly increase, but it may increase or decrease depending on the model parameters. So there is no conclusive way to say. It depends on how many model hyperparameters are there and how many model weights are there. What about increasing the total number of local epochs? Increase, right? So this would increase. Data heterogeneity? It doesn't affect, right? Data heterogeneity has nothing to do with the wall clock time per communication round, right? So it doesn't affect. Similarly, if you increase beta and kappa, that also doesn't matter, right? Because this is related to data heterogeneity and that doesn't matter. Alright, so the last thing that I wanted to talk about, which is stressing upon this particular point here, this overfitting issue, right? As we mentioned. So should we use, as we had seen in this particular example on training 2-layer neural network or the CNN for MNIST dataset, as we increase the total number of local epochs, capital E, basically that basically translates to requiring fewer number of communication rounds. But is it always the case? And it will be the case that it will largely require fewer number of local rounds, but there is another issue with this and with this data heterogeneity. So let's say you have two functions, there are two clients. Just consider very simple, should we have more number of local epochs or not? So that's what we are trying to address. Let's say you have two functions, and function 1 is x minus 1 whole square, and f2 is 2 times x minus 5 whole square. Okay. So if I look at, since typically we are looking at functions for which stochastic, you have data driven evaluation of functions, right, like on the loss function. So in this case we are assuming deterministic functions, no stochastic gradients. So that global objective would be, let's say we use 50%, like 0.5 of those. So it would be half of x minus 1 square plus x minus 5 whole square. Okay, this is the global objective function. So what is x star here? The optimal solution. So for that, if you were to compute the gradient and then set it to 0, right? So that would be x minus 1 plus 2 times x minus 5. This you set it to be equal to 0, and this gives you x star is equal to Okay, so that this is the optimal solution that you expect the neural network or the federated learning framework to converge to. And this would largely be the case. Let's say if I perform just one round of local update. So then agent 1 would have x1 t plus 1 is okay, and likewise x2 t plus 1 is xt minus 2 eta times xt minus 5. Okay, so this is just using one local epoch, right? So this would give you, if I just average this is nothing but saying that xt plus 1 is going to be simply xt minus, like if I just combine 0.5 of this, it is going to be eta over 2 times xt minus 1 as 2 times xt minus 5. This is just performing one round of basically one round of local epoch, right, or one local epoch. And when this converges, that means the gradient becomes 0, and you would see that xt would converge to the optimal solution, which is 11 by 3. Okay, but what happens if I perform multiple rounds of updates? If I perform too many rounds of update, what would locally what would this converge to? Xt would converge to, or xt1 would converge to? Just one, right? Because it will converge to its local objective value, local optimal solution. Similarly, this would converge to 5. And now if you take 50% of those, it is going to converge to 3 instead of converging to 11 by 3, right? So you do not want to overfit, or you do not want to perform too many local updates at the same time, so that you avoid potential overfitting, and so that you can also ensure that the model converges to the global optimal solution of the global objective function, and not the combination, like some weighted combination of the optimal solutions of the local objective functions. Okay, so that is the effect of data heterogeneity. If you have like in this case we have heterogeneous data, so we are assuming they have different local objective value or different local optimal solution, and in that case, if you perform too many local updates, you would have this issue that it doesn't, like the federated learning framework does not converge to the desired optimal solution. Is this clear? So yeah, that's all I wanted to cover in today's lecture. So we'll look at more of federated learning in the coming weeks. Okay.